asking us to find a length or width. It does not make sense for us to say a measurement is -2 plus or minus the square root of 244 all over 2 inches long, right? That does not make sense. So at this point in time, it is appropriate to get a decimal approximation. I want you to look at your calculator and I want you to keep 2 decimal points. So you're gonna look at the third and see if you need to round. So we're gonna turn that into a 15.62. And we will calculate both options from there. Right? It is appropriate to round when we are ready for a label and that label doesn't make sense in the format it's given. So I'm just calculating both of these options. This gives me a 6.81. Remember, you have to do -2 minus 15.62 equals, and then hit divided by 2 in your calculator. A negative measurement does not make sense. We would not label a measurement as negative. So when we go for our final answer here, right, our 6.81 is our L. That's what we defined first. So our length is 6.81 inches. Our width is 2 more than that, so 8.81 inches. I'm going to squeeze that in. Last one. A fence is going in your neighbor's yard and has an area of 188 square feet. What are the dimensions of the rectangular fence if its width is 5 feet longer than 3 times the length? And we're going to check what we want to define here. So we read length second, so let's define that first. Right, our width is 5 feet longer than 3 times the length. So I want 5 feet longer than 3 times the length. So our next step is going to be to multiply length times width, right, equals 188. A does not equal 1, so most of us will probably choose the quadratic formula. Quadratic formula always needs to be set equal to 0, right? We should know that at this point. So we're going to find our A, B, and C, and we're going to start plugging into the quadratic formula, right? A is 3, B is 5, C is -188. That's a negative. I'm going to check underneath my square root. Right, and I'm going to check that square root. This one is also not a perfect square. It gives me a decimal, right? There's no point in trying to prime factor and simplify if we're just going to do a decimal approximation. The decimal approximation is the same either way. So when I look at this, right, this is a 9, which means this bumps up to a 6. So I want 47.76. All over 6, and then I'm going to calculate both options. So again, when I look at this one and I round 2 decimal points, that 2 bumps up to a 3. And this will give me a -8.79. Right at this point, we sort of know the drill. The answer that is reasonable is not negative, and that one's going to be my length. So I know that my length is going to equal 7.13 feet. And the width, so the width, right, I'm plugging in here. So I'm taking 3 times 7.13 plus 5. I'm just using my calculator to help me, which is fine. So my width is going to be 26.39 feet.